Morning. Kate here, bringing you this week's Monday Mission. And for this one, I decided to continue our conversation about habit change because I just feel like I had so much more information that I could share about it. So I thought this would be a great follow-up. So this one, I actually started thinking about it because the boys and I watched Back to the Future. So you remember Back to the Future from, was it the 80s? Yeah, I guess it was in the 80s. And so when they go into the future and they see their future selves, right? So Marty and Jennifer have married and they have kids at this point, and they actually go and run into their future selves. And that got me thinking about some of the research and techniques of using your future self to create habit change. So I wanted to share all that with you today. So we're continuing the conversation about the habit loop, which, if you remember from last week, starts with a cue, and we know that the cue needs to be really strong. Then it goes to a routine, and the routine needs to be simple and broken down. And then it goes to the reward, which needs to be tied to our values and not coming from a place of shame or punishment. So that's our habit loop. Okay, and I gave a couple examples, but let's just say that, let's do the yoga example. So I've never done yoga in my life. I want to start doing yoga as a practice. My routine is not going to be, doing unlimited classes at a yoga studio that's 30 minutes away. That's really overwhelming to start with and not very feasible, right? So what I might choose instead is to look up some beginner yoga videos, choose one or two moves that I think I could start with, and then do one move a day. And you could even do it in your bed before you even get out of bed. So our loop would look like the cue as the alarm goes off. The routine is I do my one yoga move. Let's say it's child pose. I do one move in my bed, and the reward is that I did it. I can check off the box. I feel success, and I started my day off right, and it will, sort of start my day in a relaxed state. So that's the loop. And then we just repeat so that we make that sledding hill. We make that neural pathway to create that habit. The thing I'm going to talk about today is what's really going to help you make those habits stick. And so what I want to talk about is mental rehearsal. So you may have heard about visualization before, or even mental rehearsal, but there actually is a difference between the two, and mental rehearsal is actually shown to be more effective. So visualization, if you think, is more where you are watching yourself do something. Okay, so let's say that you're picturing as if you're watching yourself do yoga moves. Okay, that would be more of a visualization. A mental rehearsal would be where you close your eyes and you literally step into your future self. You put your hands where her hands are, your feet where her feet are. You are feeling what's around you. You're smelling the smells. Let's say there's candle burning for yoga. You're hearing the other people. You're hearing the mat roll out. You're feeling the foam of your feet touching the mat. You are actually inserting yourself into your future self and sort of playing that over and over again and seeing yourself do it, seeing yourself do the loop. Okay, so in our example, you actually hear the sound of the alarm. You feel yourself turning off the alarm next to your bed. And then you're feeling yourself get into the position of child's pose. And you're recognizing your breathing, and you're feeling the blankets on your bed underneath you. And then you're feeling the reward, right? That feeling of calm, and that's, washing over you. So that would be what true mental rehearsal is. It's actually physically being in your future self's body, engaging in the habit loop or, the behaviors that you want to. So there's a lot of research behind this. And one of the probably best examples is Michael Phelps. So he and his coach created these mental rehearsals for every type of scenario that could happen during a race. And that is what he did day in and day out, was he mentally rehearsed these different scenarios, and he engaged in habits. So he did the exact same thing every every race, right? And the way that this paid off for him is that there was, he was in one of the Olympic races, and as soon as he dove into the water, he realized that his goggles had moisture in them and they were fogging up, and he couldn't see anything. So he couldn't see his opponents, he couldn't see the lines, he couldn't see where the end of the lane was to make his turn. But he ended up winning the gold medal for that race, not being able to see anything. And the reason that he could is because he and his coach had actually created a scenario of there being moisture in your goggles and not being able to see anything. And he mentally rehearsed what he would do to get through that problem, that scenario. And because he did that so much, as soon as he realized that his goggles weren't working, no panic set in. He didn't, get completely just caught off guard. He knew exactly what to do. He kicked into that scenario that he had mentally rehearsed and was able to win the gold. So there is a lot of research behind mental rehearsal. And I know it can seem a little like out there and a little woo-woo, but there's a lot of research to back it up. So how can we use that to strengthen our habits, and where do we even start, right? So you're probably thinking of 8,000 things that you want to do or you want to create as a habit, or all of these different areas that you want to work on in your life. And what I would really offer to you is to start out with like an inventory of each area of your life. And I'll create a worksheet that I'll add as a link here that you can do this in. But write down the areas in your life and rate your satisfaction in that area from 1 to 10. 1 being like, this is a disaster, like this is a dumpster fire, I really need to address this. And 10 being like, I got it, like this, I don't need to do any work in this area. And just from 1 to 10, kind of rate where you are. And you could do it in areas like your health, your relationships, your career, your finances, and then you could even add other areas like education or joy. But if you did like, those first few health, relationships, career, finances, and just rate your satisfaction 1 to 10 in those different areas. And probably the 1 or 2 top areas, that you were rated the least satisfied in, then that's maybe an area that you want to start. And then you want to think about the habits that you want to create in that area. And then that's when you can break down into the loop, the cue, the routine, the reward, and then add that mental rehearsal piece once you figure that out, right? So when I started running, I had never run before. In fact, I actually identified myself as someone that would only run if someone was chasing me. Like, I took pride in not being into running at all. But I secretly always wanted to be a runner. I wanted to be able to say that I had finished a race and I had done it, right? So I finally got to a point in my life where I wanted to create that as a habit. I wanted to try and push myself and challenge myself. So I didn't start out signing up for a marathon, right? So my routine was not marathon. My goal was a 5K. But in order to get there, I had to really break down that habit loop, right? So I'd already been in the habit of working out. So I took that time in the morning where I normally would work out anyway and just added did a running routine instead. But I really had to break. I couldn't run a half a mile straight without stopping, like not even close. So I really had to, if I wanted to see some success and not get discouraged, I had to break that down. So for that instance, I used an app which starts you out, it has you going at a certain pace for a certain number of minutes, and then you can walk for a certain number of minutes, and it builds you up until by the end you're running a 5K, you're running that length. So recognizing that you really have to break down that routine if you want it to be successful and not be discouraged. And then adding that mental rehearsal piece. So I would visualize, I would kind of get into my future self and see me crossing the finish line and, experiencing the sounds around me and how it would feel, and the medal hanging around my neck that they give you when you finish. And that is something that really will increase your motivation to continue with that habit. So, look at those areas in your life, use the worksheet that I'm going to attach, rate your satisfaction, and then think about a habit that you'd like to create in that area. So let's say it's finances. Let's say that it comes out that your finances are a mess and you want to start taking control of that area of your life. Well, again, being able to set aside hundreds of dollars for savings or retirement or kids' college funds or whatever, probably not a feasible place to start, right? So maybe you want to get in the habit of using Dave Ramsey's envelope system. So take that as the habit that you want to start, and then break it down into that simple, doable routine that you can do daily and add on as you're able to repeat that habit and get it established as a neural pathway. Or let's say your relationships, you really want to improve your communication in your relationships, and you have a tendency to shut down and give the silent treatment when you're triggered in any way, or there's a conflict, or there's a difficult conversation that needs to be had, and you want to get in the habit of responding in a better way. So we can break that down into what that looks like, and then you can mentally rehearse yourself, actually envision your future self being in a conflict or a difficult conversation that's been in the past, but now you're mentally rehearsing yourself becoming calm, whether that's through your breath, being curious about why the other person is saying or doing whatever it is that they are, and having that more calm conversation rather than reacting. So break those down, look at all the areas of your life, rate your satisfaction from 1 to 10, and then choose the 1 or 2 that are really sticking out to you as areas that you want to address. Create a habit loop for something that you want to start in that area, and then add that mental rehearsal piece to really make it stick. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to invite you then, once you look at those areas and find those 1 or 2 areas that you want to address, to then have a conversation with me. And the reason I'm offering this out there is because all of this sounds very logical and very simple to do, but without having that accountability piece, without having a coach to really break that habit loop down for you, hold you accountable for engaging in that habit, giving you grace when you inevitably have a misstep, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So I'm offering to have that initial conversation to see if I would be a good fit to work with you as your coach, and if you would be a good fit for me and the different programs that I have available and I could offer to you. There would be no commitment with that conversation. It's simply an opening the relationship conversation where, like I said, we would have a conversation about those different areas and see if we were a good fit for each other, and then we can talk about what that would look like. So if you are interested, please email me. You can respond to this email, or if you have my personal number, you can text me or message me on Facebook or Instagram, any of those ways, and just reach out to see about scheduling that opening the relationship conversation with me, which is free of charge for that first conversation. But your Monday mission, should you choose to accept it, then is to add that mental rehearsal piece to your habit loop and really kind of embrace that future self engaging in the habits that you want to put into place and to have in your life. Okay, so that's your mission should you choose to accept it. If you do want to have that opening relationship conversation with me, please, like I said, reply to this email or get in contact with me any of the other ways that I mentioned. All right, I hope you have a great day. Thanks.